So, hello everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of WAGE, Women Advocating for Gender Equality. My name is SHEILA Montague, and I have my co-host with me this evening, and you all know her as Io Peterson. Hello, Io.
Hi.
So we're here tonight and we're going to be talking about the youth and what happens to them when you turn a blind eye. This is a show you don't want to miss, as usual. Always very, very informational. So just sit back, relax. You can grab your popcorn and your drink because it's about to be on. See you guys shortly.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Town, a 14-year-old boy with a record of drug arrests was shot and killed. It was the 10th fatal shooting or stabbing in Newark in 10 days.
Another deadly shooting investigation is underway tonight in Newark.
Okay, we're gonna stop right there and dive right into this show. Okay, so the reason why my intro is so relative to what it is that we usually talk about is because that one of the major issues in our city, as well as other urban cities, is high crime, right? We know that crime, there's poverty, where there's poverty, there's crime. They kind of go hand in hand. So we want to talk about ways that we can run interference, if you will, right? That we can not always be on the reactive end of dealing with these situations. I think that when, sometimes, and Io, I'm going to let you speak to this as well. When we look at the community, we see so much need in terms of people needing jobs, right? People trying to go back to school to get their GEDs, which is commendable. But it's like it's way too many people trying to catch up. And I think that if we do a different job, a better job in the intervention that happens in our schools with our youth, that we could, change some of the, the things that's going on. I don't know what you think about that.
Well, the whole setup is not beneficial for us. I think that we need to stop looking towards the old paradigm of going to school, getting a good job, and getting a retirement package, because those days are over with. That was something that the baby boomers benefited from, and maybe a few people in our generation. But as far as 2022, that's a wrap. I think people need to focus more on how can I help my family, my community, my state, my nation, meaning like what are the things that are relevant today? Like today, it's more about anything having to do with computers or internet or IT. Since that's what's relevant, that's where people need to focus their energy as far as education and acquiring a career or a job. That needs to be where you focus, and you don't need to do the same way of educating as far as, like I said, going to high school, going to college, and then higher educate, like getting a master's and a PhD. That's not necessary to have a really high paying job in the computer science sector.
So basically, you would suggest that computers and science technology is the way to go?
Anything having to do with what's relevant for today, because it doesn't have to be computer science. Like literally, like we live in a port city, right? So there are lots of opportunities at the port. You know what I'm saying? I know truck drivers who have started businesses around, picking up and delivering from the port. People who are doing like what do you call it? My mind just went blank. They do oh my gosh, what is it called? It's like basically dispatching. Yes, I'm sorry. It's dispatching where they set everything up. So there are so many opportunities depending on where you live, and also, like I said, the time that we're in. So people are making a killing doing this thing called business arbitrage, where, like, let's say there's a need for something. It could be something like creating a business cards for someone. What you do is you go to a place like Fiverr and you'll have someone create it for you, and you just charge a little bit more than they charge. And then you can sell services. Yeah. So I mean,
that's fantastic.
This is 2022. So the world is your oyster. Like anything you want to do, you can do it.
Yeah.
And do like when we were coming up, where you had to have a degree, and then you had to compete with people, and then you had to interview, and then they could decide, oh, I just don't want to hire you. You know what I mean? So
Right.
now
Absolutely.
you can dictate what you want to do, how much money you want to make, where you want to work, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Legally, you can
And
do
the
it all
kids,
legally too.
no, I see that. I see exactly what you're talking about, and the young people are really into that. You know, my son was reading this book by Rick Ross, and I know that the premise of it was basically, I know, right? And it cracks me up. Listen, I made him a reader, so I can't dictate what he's reading, but you know, that's his age.
A book is a book.
Yeah, right. So, but the book is talking about entrepreneurialism, and I noticed with him and his friends, they're all into the multiple streams of income. But what I try to kind of direct them on is multiple streams of income. Some of those multiple streams have to be operational on their own. Like you just can't do all of these things. You're going to burn yourself out if you're
right.
all of this. So they're doing so many things with t-shirts, and mobile barbers are now a thing.
Uber,
which I think is really cool.
I mean, delivery. People have, I think there's a thing called Uber merchant, not Uber, it's like Amazon merchant or something. I don't know what it's called necessarily, but you can just deliver packages for Amazon. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or you could set up an Uber, like let's say you have a car, and instead of you driving and picking people up, you can lease your car so somebody else Ubers.
Right.
So people they'll own like 2 or 3 cars and let people rent out their cars.
Right.
You know, it's the doors. It's like the world is so wide open.
It's so wide open. I agree. So, but this is the problem, right? If you don't have the information as a young person, and we're talking about young people right now, because, you know, older people, they need employment and everything too. But right now, this show tonight is about the youth. So what I noticed is the youth from Westside High School is not in the same information portals, right, as perhaps the youth from University High School
or Eastside.
So I don't know much about what they're getting in Eastside, but what I do know is that I see a lot of people on a trek to make money coming out of university, and I attribute it to they're just getting more information. Like even what you
it's
just
more
said.
than that. It's more than that. They're getting more access. That's the thing. Because I remember, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
We have in the city of Newark. Give me a second. My mind is just going totally blank today.
It's because you don't drink Pepsi yet.
I don't drink soda anymore. That's what it is. I don't drink coffee. I don't drink soda. What is my problem? What's the Kindle? But what is that? The company that owns Kindle?
Amazon?
Not Amazon. The company Amazon bought them out. They're in downtown Newark.
What, Audible?
Thank you.
Okay, Audible. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Audible was offering internships, but they were just offering it to like university and science and stuff like that. They weren't offering it throughout the city, which I had a problem with. And it wasn't just Audible. It was a lot of companies that are headquartered downtown Newark. They were just, I guess, offering internships at the magnet schools.
Right.
So the problem that not just Newark, but the problem that we have in our community is access to opportunity. So if you don't have access to the opportunities, you won't benefit from them. You won't gain from them. And a lot of times we don't have access because we don't even know about it to begin with.
Wow.
So it's important that we get the word out about these opportunities, and then make it so that people can actually have access to the opportunities. Because it's one thing to not know about something, and it's totally different to know about it. But then the third thing that's most important is to be able to access it and benefit from it.
Right. So I agree. So you just said the same thing I said. The access is important, but you don't even know about access unless you have to have the information first. And that's what I'm saying. Like the kids, because I worked on this side, Bellsburg, West Side, they don't have the information. No. And what they think in their world, because kids only know what's set in front of them.
Exactly.
The imagination only really generates from reading. So they can't even vision something if they haven't seen it. So they don't know over here. I know for a fact that they don't know. And that could be because of a lot of things, right? The guidance counselors, they get information, but if they get the information and they're doing lunch duty, or it's just too much going on to actually do what their job is. I know the ratio isn't right between, counsel person,
Right,
counselor, and student ratio isn't what it needs to be. So these kids are not getting information, and what they're getting is playtime. I know they have the lights out program. When we're dealing with huge, you're laughing.
No, because I was up at arms about all of that because
but the community thinks it's good. It's like, oh, they have lights out.
They've been brainwashed to think it was good because, West Side got money from Oprah Winfrey and Ellen and all, and Cory Booker and all this kind of stuff. But my thing was, what are the educational outcomes of these students? Like they were talking about the laundromat, and it was like getting sickening after a while. It's like, okay, you have a laundry now. Okay, now they're playing basketball. What are they learning, and how is that going to benefit them? Because we're supposed to be talking about academics, not laundromats and basketball.
And that's where it starts, right there. That's where the divide is. Like we're not having the same conversations, because when I talk to parents over here, parents are excited about, oh, they have washing machines. Wait, but you go to the laundromat and you wash your kids' clothes. I know that for a fact. Or they'll say, oh yeah, they're getting a henna, temporary tattoos. Okay.
Exactly. How is that going to help you in life?
And so I don't know that, and I'm saying I don't know, but I don't know if there's a link being made between these kids not getting the academics and the information to even be accessible to what's going on. To even be accessible to what's going on. That's basically, our guest for tonight. Because for those of you who are joining in, thank you for tuning in to W.A.G.E. I'm your host, SHEILA Montague, with our co-host tonight, Io Peterson. And we have a young lady that is trying to join us, and so she should be on soon. Like I said, it's going to be a really dynamite show if she doesn't make it on, because she's trying to download StreamYard and do all of these other things. But she wants to tell her story. But she's working on it now. She's doing some things. So let's get back to this, because again, I don't know if people are making a link that there's things that you should be doing in terms of intervention to try to avoid extreme poverty, meaning that, education and college education definitely is not the end all and be all, right? But they're not getting trades either. So they're not getting anything that's going to be, that's going to sustain them to be a positive in life. They're not even around other peers who are giving them information. So they're not around other young people that's talking about doing film, chances are, right? Or people who are talking about doing t-shirts or podcasts and things. And don't get me wrong, there's young people that are having those conversations. There are young people that are doing those things, and it's amazing and it's great. But what I'm saying in many instances is sometimes these young people don't meet.
Right.
I don't know what that is. I don't think it's a class issue, because they're all young people. The youth is a part of one group being young. I don't know if it's class, but I could tell you that I know, and I'm just using these two schools for an example. University students are not getting the same information that West Side students are getting. They're not functioning on the same type of
no. Well, university is a magnet school. Like I said before, the magnet schools have access to all kinds of information, all types of internships and programs that's not accessible for the rest of the city. And unfortunately, in the city of Newark, we're very, very segregated on who lives where and who gets what type of education. Because if I'm not mistaken, as far as the magnet schools, as far as I remember, you don't have to live in that district to go to that school. That's that's part of magnet schools. It's like we're attracting the gifted and talented students from everywhere. But the problem with that is a lot of times the students going to the magnet schools don't even live in the city of Newark. What's happening is their parents might have a job in the city of Newark, because Newark employs a lot of people who don't live here. In fact, 83%, if I'm not mistaken, the last numbers I heard is upwards of 80% of the people who work in Newark don't live here. So what's happening is people are bringing their children from wherever, because it might not even be the state of New Jersey, but from wherever, to come to work in Newark, and they're dropping their kids off at the magnet schools. So the students in Newark aren't even benefiting from a higher quality education. That's number one. Number two, there are lots of companies downtown Newark. They are not extending opportunities, because I know for a fact, I've heard lots of people tell me when they were younger and they were in high school in like the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, they used to be able to get jobs at Prudential, PSC&G, a lot of the places downtown, but that's not the case anymore. They're not doing that. They're not doing that for the West Side. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah, and there's something that needs to be done. But this is the problem. How do you get it done when the parents don't realize that is wrong? And I'm going to say it's wrong. I'm not going to mince words here.
Right.
It's wrong that they're focusing on playing in the gym for hours and henna tattoos and like the stuff that the focus is wrong, but they're looking at it like, oh, this is great. They're doing this for the kids. But the kids don't have any tools to make it out of poverty, right? So people talk about the school to prison pipeline, but people don't talk about the school to poverty pipeline. And these two things are kind of one and the same, because living in poverty is synonymous to living in a prison. You don't have money. You can't go nowhere. You can't do anything. You can't get exposed to anything. You can't go on vacations to, have experiences to develop you more. So it's like you're stuck.
Right.
Like a cage with invisible bars, but you're stuck. So then you're here to just deal with what's in your immediate surroundings. And we know it is not good, right?
Well, part of it goes back to what you've said several times. The parents are a product of the same educational system that their kids are. So how am I going to show my children a better life when I never saw that? How am I going to expose my children or give them access to things that I don't even know about? And like I said, the problem that we're suffering from in Newark is not even knowing about the opportunities to begin with. Because once the information is out there and people can benefit from the opportunities, you'll see a big change. And that's political, basically. That's what's going on. All of this is political on who gets access to what. That's what
now I want to interject something else into what you just said, because I'm loving how this conversation is going, right? These main people are the real ones who are constantly saying, oh, I don't do politics. I don't do politics. I'm not
exactly.
Are you kidding me? Like, when they say
it's all political.
Yeah, it's all political, but right. So if they don't teach us that, and we don't even know what politics is, we don't know what civics is, because they don't teach us that either, right? They don't really even allow for debates to occur in the schools on a regular basis, where different factions of the city can get to see right in their neighborhood school who's running for office. That's problematic, because you don't know who's running beyond what you see from their avatar. Like right now, I don't know if you know, but Senator Rice has left. I think you do. Of course, you know that.
Yes, I do.
And so I was trying to find out, well, who's running. So come to find out, there's somebody in Irvington. You're always laughing at me because you know me. You know where I'm going.
Yes.
You smell me coming.
I'm so sorry.
So they have a young lady that lives in Irvington by the name of, I want to say, Renee Burgess, right?
Okay.
I don't know her, but she her resume includes that she was on the school board for 11 years. She's a council president there, so she's running. That is absolutely all I know about her, right? So there's another person that is also running, that the senator put in place to run to take his seat. Even that, I'm still trying to comprehend, how is it that the people are not doing this? You understand? Like, there's some just things that are going on that wouldn't be going on if people understood their power in civics and the role that they play or should be playing in politics. But anyway, he's putting what's her name? Tucker. Cleopatra Tucker, who's the current assemblywoman. And so he's putting her up. So now it's become this, I'm getting letters from everybody. Hey, support Cleopatra. Hey, support Renee Burgess. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm confused. Like, who, like, but if she's assemblywoman, why is she running for the Senate? She has this, like, wait, why? Like, so all the other people here who care about Newark, who know policy, like, is no one else only, good enough to run for office except for
Well, you got to remember, we're in the state of New Jersey, so that's all I'm going to say on that. New Jersey is one of the last states that still has machine politics, which means that there's a boss that you have to go to get permission to run and to be backed, and you know what I mean, that sort of thing. So New Jersey is well, like I said, one of the last states to participate in machine politics. And as far as cities go, New York City and Chicago also participate in machine politics, but for the most part, the rest of the country doesn't do that. So therefore, New Jersey is unique in the way that politics is done, because a lot of the people that are in different offices throughout the state were not elected by the people. They were appointed, or they took someone else's position who just passed away, or mainly who just passed away. That's the easiest way to get a position.
Right.
And then the people, it would, like, your peers vote you in type of thing, but not the actual constituents that you're supposed to be representing. That's not the case. So
we're going to come back to that, Ayo. Thank you for that.
Okay, no problem.
Manira says, great seeing
Hi,
Ayo.
Manira.
Hi, Manira. So Yolanda asks, do you think this is done by design?
Yes, Yolanda, 150%. Yes.
Break it down for us, Ayo.
This is done by design because, like I said, if it weren't for the fact that we did not have access to opportunity, we would be a lot further along. So therefore, the powers that should not be make sure that we don't have access to opportunity. They make sure that we don't even know about the opportunities a lot of times.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
So, because if you don't know, you won't sign up for or fill out the application for. They don't have to worry about you if you don't know about it to begin with.
That's right.
And then the other thing that's going on is, like, throughout the city of Newark, we have a lot of immigrants, but they came at different times, so they have different understanding. So there's, like, some people who are totally ignorant of, politics in New Jersey, and, like SHEILA said before, civics. But then there are people who've been here for a while and they're hip to game, so they can function differently than someone who just came here, as opposed to someone whose families have been here for eternity. You know what I mean? So it's like we're dealing with that too.
So I see
that too.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. So I see that Katina says Principal Cook, and that's the principal over at Westside, in his favorite African community.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
So
African community.
I don't know what is meant by that. Katina, maybe you could give us a few more details. Yeah, maybe you could give us a few more details on that, because I can't really talk on or elaborate what I'm not sure about just yet. Ayo just laughs at everything. Okay.
No, because I already have thoughts about this stuff. Like, I literally was up in arms. What was it? 4 years ago, when they were talking about the washers and dryers and
like this stuff,
Winfrey and Ellen, it was just getting to be ridiculous after a while.
This stuff to me, and I'm starting to use this word this week a lot, is really, really goofy. And like I said, so if you let people treat you like a kid, they're going to treat you like a kid. I don't care who the you is. You teach other people how to treat you. And when we've had so much disrespect that comes from a place of leadership in the community, whatever the leadership, it could be church leadership, it could be political leadership, what have you. And then you still support what it is that they do. That's approval. And you want to be disapproving, even if you feel like, well, I can't change it, or if I can't say much because of my job, or I can't, there's a lot of factors that play a role in why people don't speak out more about the things that they're frustrated by. But I'm telling you, if we could just consider in a greater capacity of intervention, right? There's too many kids out playing at night. Why are they not sleeping in the bed? Why? They're little kids. It's little kids 13 and 14 at local DJ parties, and then you hear about inappropriate behaviors that are occurring. Again, kids don't need to be out. Like some of this stuff we could try to, make little provisions, as parents, and not be so kind and,
Well, part of it is, like I said in one of the other shows, is a lot of these kids that you see out at night are literally homeless. So they don't have the guidance that they need. So, or if the guidance that they do have, it could be dysfunctional in the sense that they could be living with a grandparent that's, elderly and infirmed, or they could be with relatives who are, I don't know, maybe doing drugs or something, just not in a place to take care of a young person. So a lot of times people are doing the best that they can with what little they have. So that's where the community, the elected officials need to come in and do more to help. Because I said, there are programs out there. There's money for programs. There's money to help, but it's just not being distributed properly to the community.
Yeah, and I heard, I don't know if it's true, that Boiling Street, the pool didn't open this summer.
I don't know. I remember seeing the water in the pool, and I think I remember seeing kids swimming there, but I don't know, because usually I go over there in the summertime. I haven't been for a while.
So these types of things, and I'm just thinking about that. But like you said, there are programs, and it's crazy because sometimes you see the people advertising the programs, and they got like maybe 5 kids that are coming, and you wonder like what's the due diligence and work put in to get the kids, or is the kids just not interested in that program? And then when you get the money, are polls or some type of surveys taken in terms of what events and activities do kids like in a certain area? Like I know in certain areas in Newark, they like soccer. Everybody doesn't. In certain areas, they love baseball. Certain areas, they love basketball. So you have to see in that particular area where the monies are being allocated.
No, that's not what's happening. It's like tone deafness, because like we have on South Orange Avenue, literally across the street from West Side, a soccer field, and nobody's playing soccer over there. And the same thing.
Saying. Who did the data and research?
But see, a lot of that stuff is coming from the county as far as the parks go, because I've noticed that, like you said, that like somebody's tone deaf or something's not right, because they'll have a soccer field where people might be more interested in, like you said, baseball or basketball, or they'll have a baseball diamond where people are interested in soccer or football, so like I said, part of it is county, because the county is in control of, I think, 26 parks, if not more. I think it's 26. I'm not sure. In Essex County, and then the city has a few parks. The city of Newark has a few parks throughout the city. But as far as the rec centers go, I just learned that Donnell Redding is the director of the rec centers, which is like long overdue, and he's excellent. And he comes up with a lot of great programs, a lot of funding and everything. So as far as that goes, we don't have a problem with the rec centers, but it's a thing of, like I said, I said this in a previous show, we get federal funding for different programs. And what happens often is they'll get people to come and take pictures and ribbon ceremonies and grand openings, and then nothing after that.
Okay. Listen, Katina says the success in the whole city is only for a selected few who's plugged into the political game.
That's why I was laughing. That's why I was laughing, because it's so true. That's so true. It's like, and when we talk about the diversity in Newark, what's happening is the different national groups or ethnic communities, the ones who donate the most money to, I guess, their favorite politician, are the ones that will get the most programs and the most financing and the most buildings or whatever they need. So that's how it works.
Yeah, I'm really concerned, because I'm going to be honest, I didn't realize, and you guys forgive me because I'm not keeping my eye on the screen constantly, because I'm doing a couple of things operating at the same time. But I see a couple of comments I want to share here with you, Io, to get your opinion on this. Some of this
No
stuff is
problem.
very, very troubling. Somebody said that well, Manira's saying they are indoctrinating the children and teaching them how to help build up their corporations.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Well, I said this in I think last week, that we're not in an educational system. That's why I'm not too big on people, going to school and going to college and getting all these degrees, because that ship has sailed. We know after the college admission scandal that came out a few years ago. Remember the actresses that were, spending goo gobs of money to get their kids to go to like USC
celebrity
and
moms,
different,
yeah.
Right. Once that scandal came out, that just shut everything down. That just goes to show you that it's not about getting a good education. It's about getting status from whatever school you go to. And most people are paying for that. You know what I'm saying?
So some people, rich people, you're right. They are paying for that. But I'm gonna just say that I hear people in our community say a lot that, oh, it's not about college. I'm gonna say my opinion, and I respect, and I'm on board with your opinion 100%, because there's a lot of legitimacy behind it. But I have a different opinion. My opinion is that our people in our community need to get all the education they could possibly get, because people who have money, they can make it. Like was it Gates? Who didn't have the college education at all, and they like a billionaire.
No, what happened was he dropped out. He dropped out last year, and so did Zuckerberg. I think he dropped out too. But they both were at Harvard. So
yeah, but oftentimes what happens is that many of these people are still associated with their family, where they're around conversations that help them to develop common sense. Whereas in poverty-stricken communities, many of us are not around our families. And I just saw another comment on here that had me really concerned too. And I think this was Manira also. She said, yes, the homeless youth is on the rise. So if we got homeless youth, they're not even around. That first of all, homeless and youth in the same sentence is like so scary to me. I'm like, wow, so that's a concept to grasp all on its own. But then you know that these are young people who are not developing a very healthy sense of common sense. So if they don't have common sense, nor do they have school sense, these kids could turn up to just be prey.
Well, that's why I'm not big on the whole education system, because number one, it's not like when we were coming up. Like, we didn't even have a classical education, but the education that we got, and because we're part of the X generation, they don't even have that anymore. Like, we actually took accounting, civics, home ec, shop, wood shop, auto. We had all that stuff in school. They don't have that stuff nowadays. That's why it's like not worth it. We'd be better off if we, like me and you, set up something to teach people online.
But they won't come to that. So listen, if that was the case, if that was a viable option, I would be 100% in agreement with you. But for some reason, education, I don't care who disagrees in the audience, y'all can plug it in. I'll still put the comment up. Education is not valued. And that's a fact. Now, does that mean 100% by everybody? Of course not. But education overall is not valued. And you know that, just like we're going to say, just what we're talking about at Westside. Henna, how you look. Oh, they're doing hair, they're braiding, or they're putting weaves in, or they're putting lashes on. That's another thing. Well, I don't need my teenager with lashes.
Right. Well, that's all distractions. And my thing is, we as a community, we need to focus on the youth. We need to make sure that there are no homeless people in our community. We need to make sure that people are fed, because nobody else is going to do it.
Yes.
And going back to education, if education was a viable option, we wouldn't be in this predicament. It's so segregated and it's so elitist. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to go to school when you're not going to get an education, when all the best you're going to be is indoctrinated to not think for yourself.
But again, I disagree. Listen, they're getting an education in science high. They're getting an education in university.
Right, but how many people can go to those schools?
But again, listen, I'm not negating what you're saying. I'm just giving my opinion.
Okay.
I'm not negating anything that you're saying because you have your opinion. It's legitimate. That's your opinion. But what I'm saying is you cannot put all schools in a bowl and say, okay, no one's getting an education. That is not happening. That is not happening. Some people somewhere are getting educated in the city of Newark. There's a lot of success stories. There are a lot of young people going to college. There's a lot of people doing like crazy, like super cool stuff like your daughter that's not even in college. So there are.
Well, that's what I'm basing it on. My daughter did not go to junior high school, or college.
But she's an anomaly. That's not going on.
No, she's not, because this is what I'm trying to say. She took advantage. She took advantage of a program that they had in the city of Newark. Your daughters went to that same program. I know thousands of other girls who went through the same program. The issue that I have is people do not have access to programs that will help them to not, so it won't be an anomaly anymore.
Yeah, but you said it won't be an anomaly anymore, but it still proves the point that it's an anomaly. And then
I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
You said so it won't be an anomaly anymore. And I said yes, but it still doesn't differentiate the fact that right now it is an anomaly. There's not a regular group of kids that are doing that. And I think they should. I think we should increase that. But now,
the reason there isn't is because of the access. My thing is, let kids have access to programs that will help them in 2022, as opposed to focusing on the same go get an education so you can get a good job paradigm. That's over with. That's over with. That's ended with our generation.
I know. I hear you, but this is what I'm saying. We're turning out mass kids in poverty. And so, like I said, I'm not going to negate your opinion. I appreciate if you don't negate mine, but you can if you want to. If you're going to just insist. But I'm just saying that we're suffering from lack of knowledge. So whatever avenues exist for them to get some level of knowledge, let them get it. Like, and listen, the teachers aren't all great, but the teachers aren't all bad. We don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. So I'm just saying, and I get where you're coming from. I do. I get the logic behind it completely. But I'm never, as an educator, going to say throw out education, because I'm going to do. And again, I get what you're saying about we're like the last of the Mohicans that got a real education. I get that. But there's some schools that are still teaching. There's some kids that are still coming out learning. I know that I've worked here for years, and I certainly was a strong teacher. And I certainly helped a lot of kids. I did the same thing that was done for me. Somebody made sure they carried me, put my butt in this college when I wasn't trying to go. And I've done that for a lot of kids, because I never knew how to repay that teacher. And she told me just pay it forward. And that's exactly what I did. So but there's some kids that they like what they like and they don't like it. Like you said, your daughter did good in the program. My daughters wasn't beat.
Right.
So they should have
other programs that they like.
Yeah,
that's what it should be.
But in the better schools, they do. Like, you could go to certain schools. Like,
this is the issue. We're talking about students who are not going to the better schools, and that's most of the students. So what I'm saying is,
listen, hold on, time out for 1 second. No, okay. I got you. I just want to get back to some of these comments because they're piling up. Manira says we need to rise up against the machine, and I think that could be one of the biggest factors in this, because if we're going to get these programs and get the monies reallocated, right, we got to have some kind of control. And how do we have control over these types of things when democracy has left the building? Like I said, we're talking about leadership for over 3 decades,
right?
Like 3 times, 3 generations, and deep, and we still don't get to say, okay, now we can get another young person in and they can do some of these things that they've learned. No, we're still getting people from the industrial age to take over leadership in something that they don't understand, and it doesn't make sense to me. Like, you're asking me, and like I said, I don't know the person Renee Burgess, so I can't say who she is as a candidate. But the bad part about it is, in a couple of hours, it'll be Thursday, right? as a district leader, we're taking this vote on Friday.
Good luck with that.
You understand? And it's like, and no shade to, no personal shade to Assemblywoman Cleopatra Tucker. But what I am saying is that, listen, it's time for some of you guys to really let it go. I mean, these people were 60, 70 years old. Like, can some of the young people get a chance? Like, our generation didn't even get a chance yet.
No, you know what? There was a few articles that I had shared that came out a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, when there was the 2020 election. And they were stating in the articles how Generation X, if nobody became president, that we were not going to be president before our 50s.
Wow.
And literally the baby boomers have had the presidency since 1992. They have continuously had the presidency since 1992. So we're talking 30 years that the baby boomers have been sitting in office.
Okay, we're going to get back to that. Was good stuff, Ayo. Thank you for that. We're going to get to some of these
problem.
comments because they're really hot tonight. So let's get started on some of this. So Katina says Manira L and played the kids out in his school. I think she's talking about the principal at Westside, and didn't even give some of them a real chance at success. Wow.
They're not lying, because I constantly ask, because like every week it seemed like for 2 or 3 years straight they kept talking about the washing machines. They kept talking about people from all over the world were sending, detergent. They were talking about Oprah Winfrey giving $500,000. They were talking about Ellen. And I kept asking, I was like, what are the educational outcomes of these students? I said, are they getting the same internships that, the students at science and university? And I don't want to lie and say other schools, but I know for a fact those two schools were getting internships. I know at Eastside they had a program where students could become substitute teachers upon graduation from high school. I was asking, but what about the kids at Westside? I was like, what is happening? I was like, what are their grades like? Are they getting, this is another problem I have with the city of Newark. The city of Newark has, I want to say, 5 to 6 universities downtown, and they don't recruit. They don't do a good job of recruiting Newark students at all. At all. Like, I graduated from Rutgers Newark, and most of the people at Rutgers Newark not only are not from the city of Newark, they're not from the state of New Jersey. Like I'm sorry, all these schools are doing a horrible job of recruiting students. That's a big problem, because as far as education goes, if you don't have a good college education, if you want to go that route, if you don't have a good college education to further your education into higher learning, then you're not going to be successful in corporate America. So my thing is, like, don't even focus on that. I think we should go back to the old model of master apprentice. Like, find out what you're good at, and then have someone who's a master at that teach you how to do it and start your own business. Like, we have a lot of talented people who are graphic designers. Start a business in that. Learn that from someone who's a master, or someone who's in business, who's already doing that, who's at a level where you want to be. Learn from them.
Okay.
Another person, what were you about to say?
Yeah, we just got a lot of comments here. Like,
okay.
We're trying to get them in. You're doing good. No, you're doing great. Ayo, hold on. We're going to comment on some of these. So Manila says Ward redlining. Like I said, these comments are fire. I want to touch on a lot of these.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's a good that's new. That's new to me, but that's exactly what's happening.
That's exactly
we are like in a freaking, not only are we in a food desert, but we're in an informational desert too, and an access desert.
And that's what I'm saying. It's the Ward real. I'm telling you.
Yes, that is real. That is the truth.
Working in North Newark was so different than working at Wellsburg. It was night and day.
I used to live in North Newark. Living in North Newark is different than living in in the West Ward. It's totally different. It's totally.
What are some ways that you saw it in not long, because we want to get to some of these other comments, but
okay, no problem.
What are a couple of things that you saw that was different?
I noticed in the city of Newark, it's very segregated on who lives where, right? So in North Newark, at the time that I lived there, they still had some Italians still living there. You know, it was basically they were being pushed out by the Puerto Ricans and the Dominicans, if I'm not mistaken. And this was like 20 something years ago when I lived in the North Ward. Okay. Also, at the time, they still had Columbus Hospital was still open, but now it's more like like a rehab facility, like for heart issues. That's my understanding.
Well, this is how I see a couple of things different. I'm gonna go into some of these other comments, guys. I'm with you guys. You stay with me. There's a level of empathy that's higher in North Newark. Like if something happens to someone on the street, it's intervention. Like people say, "Aye, puppy, you okay? You okay?" You know, it's that. I don't see that a lot over here. I see over here, it's like an energy of, I ain't getting involved in that.
That ain't my problem.
Yeah, they ain't my problem. Oh, they did something. They know what they getting that for.
But you know what? It's a different population here too, because in where the area that I live in, Wellsburg, there are a lot of Haitians, a lot of Jamaicans, Guyanese, and Trinis. So there, it's like, even though they're all Caribbean, it's like different perspectives. There's the, Hispanic, and then there's the West Indian perspective. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, also, how did you come to this country? Because a lot of people don't know this. Puerto Ricans are American, so they have a different.
Well, some of them might not know because they think they represent the nation now.
Well, no, they do that to separate themselves from us. That's all that is. But they know they're American.
So in all fairness, I'm going to just add that in North Newark, I think it's the same separation, but it's different. Instead of those that you just named, they have Mexican, right? They have the Venezuelan, right. So they have a huge,
So that's what I'm saying. So it's like, what group is it? How did they come to this country? What's their relationship to the
Newark group?
Yeah, that's like Newark. Newark is literally
the sanctuary city.
Yeah, we're repping every country for real. When I was in college, it was crazy because it was like I went to Essex County College and I went to Rutgers. So when I went to Essex County College, it was like the freaking UN. I remember I had professors from Nigeria, Iraq, Japan. I mean, just you name the country, and it was like I had a professor from there.
So that's the city of Newark too. For sure. Yolanda Hamilton says, who oversees the people that are making these decisions? Excellent. I want to hear that.
That's exactly. Nobody. They're running amok. That's why we're in the predicament we're in. That's the issue. We are a machine state. We're a machine politics state. So it's like a political boss, sets, who does what, who does where. And we have a North Jersey political boss and a South Jersey, because everybody knows that we don't have a Central Jersey.
Right.
So it's like North Jersey, South Jersey, and we have political bosses on, both ends. And then from there, you have the county. So the county has a boss. And then from there, you have the city. And then the city has a boss. So it's like you got to get permission from these different bosses on if you are allowed to maneuver in politics in the state of New Jersey. That's how it works.
Okay, another question, Ayo. Kevin Waters says, and this is not the Kevin Waters that we know.
I was about to say, wow, this has been a long time.
Yeah, because I used to thought that too. I was like, okay, so Kevin Waters says, say the quiet part out loud. Now, I'm not sure what he's talking about because I think this comment was made early in the conversation, right. But he says dysfunctional. Your guest just did. Not sure. The home structure is fractured. The values have been lost due to the issues of some adults who have poor parenting skills? You can comment, I'll make a comment, and then we moving on to these other 80 comments.
Okay. I think I remember when we were talking about, like, the homeless children, and I was saying that literally some of these children are the reason you see them out and about in the middle of the night is because they don't have the support and the parental guidance that they need. And that's where I said we come into play. So we need to go back to how we used to do back in the day, where there was no such thing as children just, out and about and no supervision, because we have lots of adults, you know what I mean,
Right.
who can help the situation. Even if we have to come up with ways of making sure that everybody has a place to live in, then that's what we need to do. Because what's going on in the city of Newark is ridiculous. Like, Newark is number one with like foreclosures. So a lot of people are being pushed out of their homes just so that the incoming group of what I want to say, immigrants, often illegals, can have a place to live. And that shouldn't be the case. And we should not sit back and allow it to happen anymore. We need to stand up, and we have to force these political bosses and politicians, we have to force them to stop their shenanigans. Like, we really need to stand up and, tell them, because basically they're supposed to be public servants. They're supposed to work for us. They're supposed to be making sure that their constituents' best interests are taken care of, but that's not what they're doing. And we need to get back to that.
Absolutely.
There should be no such thing as us having a conversation about homeless children. That just should not be happening.
Yeah, that's insane. But there shouldn't be homeless
families. It's a reality.
It's so many, so many empty, vacant.
Right. That doesn't make sense. Years ago, I had someone who was in county politics drive me down a few blocks in the city of Newark. And I kid you not, it was like blocks and blocks of abandoned houses. And with that being said, we could do something with those houses. There are a lot of people who would love to have a house to live in. You know what I mean? If they had a program where, how they have the rehab programs where if you fix it up, you can live there. That's the kind of thing we should have in the city of Newark.
So I think that once we educate, right?
But you don't have to educate in a building.
I'll let you talk. Let me talk.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Right. And I'm not talking about in the school sense. I'm talking about even our group WAGE, right? Education happens in a plethora of ways. So again, we had a great meeting today. And so for those of you who have not joined our group WAGE, I'm extending the invite. Please join us. We talk about everything from health development to financial development, anything that you need, even in child rearing. But see, so this is the thing. People with poor parenting skills might not be educated enough to understand that they need to be a part of something a little bit bigger than themselves so that we can stay, on a similar trajectory to progression, meaning empowering each other. How do we do that? Through shared information.
Right.
And sometimes we do that through debating each other back and forth. And it's not about arguing, knocking somebody in the head with a stick. It's not about that. It's about, we didn't get in this space overnight. We're not going to get out of it overnight. So you got to be committed, right, for a long-term organization and unity to us getting better, because everybody should have something that they're consciously aware of every day that they're trying to make themselves better every day, because you're not perfect. No one is. So my thing that I'm working on is I'm trying to be a little bit more slower to speak, right? And a little bit more, of a better of a listener. And with that being said, these people with poor parenting skills, like, so, no kids come here with a book, and they're all different because people are all different. I have personally 3 kids, and I believe does too. Now, each 3 of those kids are different.
Totally.
Nobody is the same. This person functions off one thing. So none of these young people have a book. So all you can do is just do the best that you can. Was poor parenting to one kid may be the greatest parent to another kid. Case in point, in our communities, they I could say a lot of things. I want to use an example that's not so abrasive, but sometimes people allow for their kids to smoke weed in their house. I'll just say that for example. And some parents think, it's nothing wrong with that. They're going to do it anyway. At least they could be in here where I can see what's going on, right? Mm-hmm. I'm not that kind of parent. You ain't never smoking weed in my house. It's not happening.
Nothing to talk about.
It's nothing to talk about. I'm not that parent. I'm not.
Right.
So to my kids, I'm being a bad parent, maybe because such and such mother
lets them do it.
So I'm a bad parent. I'll be that. You're not doing that.
Well, the other thing goes back to a discussion that we had few weeks ago regarding like we need to be on the same page when it comes to like morals and values too. We have to have a code that we all adhere to, because part of the problem is because the city of Newark is so diverse in its population, we have a lot of different cultures, coming together, a lot of different religious perspectives. And so I think that Newark is doing a good job with people, of different backgrounds living together. The issue that I have with the city of Newark is not the people per se, but it's the leadership. Because what I've noticed is the leadership is pitting one group against another on, who has access to what. Yeah. Like, depending on which ward you live and if that the leader of that ward is the same ethnicity of the people and where the people came from, that determines, what they have access to or what their religious background is, what they have access to, which is totally unfair, but it is what it is. So my thing is, first we need to be on the same page on, what morals and values are important to us as a community. And then from there, we can say, okay, this is important to us. So this is what we'll do to help this situation.
Right.
So like, it's important that children have a place to live and have food to eat and have clothes to wear and, can be educated in the field that they desire to be educated in.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And
well, they don't even probably know. They don't even probably know. But let me get back to some of these comments a little bit, because there's so many. And now we're 8:58, so we're going to take a few more minutes if it doesn't turn off on us.
Right.
Puerto Ricans have a culture where we embrace others no matter where you come from. When we display our heritage, it is not separate. It is not to separate ourselves. If we are separating from what? So I get that concept, but it's a concept that I can tell you that's not shared by every single person in a group. And it's the same thing, for Black people and all kind of people. Like, they embrace people, but some people's personality don't embrace others. And then you gotta be mindful. Let me finish. I know you I saw your wheels turn. I'm gonna let you have it. I'm gonna let you have it. Some people are just antisocial, right? But some people also have bought into the conditioning of separatism because it makes profit for others. Go ahead, Aya.
No, when you were talking, I was like, I was like agreeing with you. And it's like, what's happening is people are like, this statement is made in that Facebook user silo. So yes, that may be true for you. And that may be true for a lot of people, but that's not necessarily the experience of people who are not Puerto Rican. You see what I'm saying? Like, you may have the best intentions with sharing your culture, but that's not true. That might be true for you and your intentions and everybody that you know, but that might not be true for the people who aren't Puerto Rican. Like, we don't see it that way because that's not how it's being conveyed to us. It's like, to me, what I'm seeing, it's like a separatist thing. Like, I'm Puerto Rican and I deal with Puerto Ricans and that sort of thing. You see what I'm saying? I don't see this inclusiveness.
And that's a fair statement based on what I know about our community as a whole.
I'm saying she. I'm not sure if this is a she or he. This person
it's a she. I think that's Mary Lee's.
Right.
But I'm gonna offer validity to what you just said, Ayo, because I know for a fact that a lot of people feel that way. And it goes into the logic of why a lot of Black people stop saying black and brown, because we're always inclusive of everybody, but at some point that inclusivity wasn't reciprocated.
Exactly.
Seemingly. So I'll say that because again, everybody's not the same. But the next comment, Katina says, yes, we must face this reality, the reality of it all. Our youth need us to stand up and fight for them. What do you say to that, Aya?
Oh, that's definitely 100% true. I find it very problematic that that's not, second nature and common sense to people. Children don't raise themselves. We have to raise them. And if we're the generation, like I'm a part of the X generation, Sheila's a part of the X generation, we're the generation that has to pass down not only what we learned from the previous generations, but we also have to help the next generations understand the things that are just coming out now. Because our generation was the first one to, to play computers, after school, you know what I mean? Play video games and all of that. And we were like the last generation to play the same games that our parents, grandparents, and great grandparents played, like tag, it, mother may I, all that kind of stuff, be in the house before the street lights go out, or even having the autonomy to be outside playing by yourself without, parental supervision 24/7. We were the last generation for that, but we were also the first generation for a lot of the things that the kids experience today. So we are what I call the bridge generation, and we have to take up what our parents and grandparents did as far as more participation and more, I don't know what to say, how to say it. Like we have to do a better job of raising the next generation. I'll put it that way, because it's more hands off now, it seems like.
Okay, so let's bring that in. Let's bring that in.
No problem.
More comments.
Okay.
So somebody asked a really good question I wanted to address. Oh, where did it go? He asked a question about district leaders, and I wanted to respond to that. There's so many comments on here. Oh my God, I just had it. Oh, here it is. Okay, it's by Ronald Johnson, and he says, I keep hearing the term district leader. What do they do? Is it an elected position? How long do they serve? So let me first say that you keep hearing the term district leader is very distractionary. What do they do? We do absolutely nothing. Come on, can we keep it real up in here? We do absolutely nothing. Okay, let me finish.
There's more.
It is an elected. Is it an elected position? It is, but we get selected.
Okay.
And how long do they serve? We serve for terms of 3 years, but you serve indefinitely unless somebody wants to kick you off the line because you've been doing good stuff for the people. Say no. So, listen, a district leader is on the lowest rung of politicians, and it is allegedly, an elected position because we are on the line with whoever runs for, senator, and a couple other things when they run. But the only thing that they do is relatively register people to vote. If people come new to the community, they register to vote. Ideally, they're supposed to be like a liaison between the community and the municipality. But we are not doing that ever since 2014 when we've had Mayor W.A.G.E in office. That has not been the case. Now, up until that time, yes, we were liaisons. Yes, we were included on everything that was going on in the city. It was at a time that we didn't have a criminal. I mean, we had a different kind of councilman here in the city, in the West Ward. And because Ron Rice, he always had meetings with us. He kept us in the loop. People had concerns. He was able to hear them without crying about people hating on him. And people used to go in because there concerns here. You
Right.
You can't dictate how people share their frustration. Ain't nobody hitting you, you know, but like we have some real thin skin people now who are constantly crying and whining. You can't even share anything. But again, staying focused on your question, district leader, that term is being thrown around for no reason. I'm a district leader, and it has nothing to do. The advocacy that I do in the city is because I want to do it. It's something that, as an individual, that I choose to do. There's no pay. It's not about that. It's just about being a liaison to your community and saying hello, I guess, when people come into the community, trying to make sure that you register as many people as possible. It's very hard to register people, I found, as a district leader, because we have so many people who don't even have their green cards now, that I'm literally talking to people and they're like they don't even want to talk to me. It's like I'm not supposed to be here. They might get me in trouble.
Yeah.
They don't know who to trust because they're new to our area. So I've experienced a lot of that. And like I said, I just like helping out in the community. That's been my experience. So I don't know if Ayo, you want to say something, but it's not 5, and we got about, I'm gonna do at least 5 more comments here. Manira says, every skill you good at, use it to build your empire.
Exactly.
I love it.
I love it.
She also mentions Adebato and Joey D. I'm sure that's from commentary earlier, because those,
right.
Yeah,
those are 2 of our
those
machine
the real
bosses.
names.
That's our bosses. That's
Yeah,
a couple of bosses in you know, this part of Jersey. That's all.
Yeah, for sure.
We could name some more, but we're not.
Okay, so Manira says homeowners and residents take pride in their neighborhood in North Ward. I know Ayo has a comment.
Okay, it's not that people in other wards don't take pride in their community. It goes back to what you just said about the political bosses. One of the political bosses you just named is out of the North Ward. He put the person who is currently the councilman, who has been the councilman for damn near 20 years, in that position. So like I said, it depends on where you're from, what your ethnicity is, and your contribution to the political system. That determines and dictates what you get out of it. If you are like me and like SHEILA and like a lot of people, if you're indigenous to this country, you're getting no help from anybody, not even your own people who are elected, because they're only concerned about immigrants, period, in this city of Newark and in the state of New Jersey. That's the only base they care about. They could care less about, you know, constituents who are American. That's not their concern at all.
Okay, so Manira says, yes, indeed, the politicians are responsible for the division taking place in the city. Yeah, yes and no, Ayo.
Yes, 100%. 100%. Because if you talk to people, like, you will find that you can get along with anybody in the city of Newark. But the problem is not, like I said, it's not the residents. It's not the residents who live in the city of Newark. It's the political officials who set up divisions. And like I said, Newark is very segregated, and that is done by design. That is not an accident. Because they don't want this person talking to that person, and they don't want this group to find out what this group is getting and how they got it. That sort of thing.
I agree. You know, my thought on that topic right there is that there's a lot of Hitler tactics being used. And if you are familiar with Hitler, no, seriously, like
I'm laughing because it's true. It's true.
If you review everything that Hitler did to get in power, textbook, that's what's going on right now.
Yes. Yeah. It's the old Art of War type of thing, or not even the Art of War. What was it? What was that book? The Robert Greene book?
48 Laws of Power.
Thank you. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. And that's
the book that everybody reads here.
Manira says, absolutely. Manira says they understand that self first, then others. And they understand that self first, then others, I think. We need to understand self-preservation as well. Let me just say this. I want to say this, and Ayo, you know that we was talking about this before the show started, right?
Okay.
I put on a post that, you know, because I didn't get a job interview at Newark Public Schools, and somebody, a fake page, came on and said, oh, well, how do you expect to get a job? You cut off your nose to spite your face and blah, 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 blah. Well, listen, I got another job, right? And I'm making buku money, bow, right? And I ain't bragging, but I am saying, right, to this question, when it's talking about self-preservation, because I've done a lot, and anybody around me know, I've risked a lot. I've gambled a lot to do things that I think need to be done in this community, inclusive of bringing about awareness to things, inclusive of bringing spectacular guests like Io Peterson to you guys to talk and share, right? So much content that you really wouldn't get, right, otherwise. And, just to name a couple, because, our hour is late, but like these things, you're at a risk because they don't want us, right? When they say we're going to get the bag, right, we are the bag. We are the bag.
Yes,
so
yes.
The more that we know, we change the lens on how things go. So you take a risk doing things like that. But when you take a risk doing things right, it don't matter what job I didn't get here, I'm still going to get one. I'm always going to win. And it's because I'm right in my heart and in my soul and my spirit with God. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not here for nobody else. I'm not here to be seen. You see, I got my little afro popping off. Like it ain't about that. Like it's about making sure that we make some progress, right? It's about planting a seed that shows our young people, even if their parents are not showing them what they should be doing to be active in their community. Because my mother and father wasn't doing this. My grandparents were old, but I saw other people. So everything doesn't have to come from your home. It's not about the homes that are dysfunctional. The problem comes in when your entire community is dysfunctional.
Right. When you have no examples.
Yeah, by expressing so much fear to get involved in things, but then they're not fearful to go down to a 24 hours of nonsense and twerk and smoke weed and do whatever. And listen, guys, I'm from the hood. I don't have anything against smoking weed because that was the second comment tonight. I don't care. But my thing is, if that's what you do for fun, then that's what you do. But you do your fun after the work is done. I'm going to say that again. Whatever you do for fun, you do it after the work is done. And you're not doing work because somebody just said to me, and we talked about this too, Ayo. Well, why we can't go down there to have fun? People be stressed out. They just want to do listen, stop it with the stress. Ain't nobody getting lynched in Newark. You read some of what our ancestors went through.
Exactly,
you be stressed.
Exactly.
Ain't nobody knocking your door saying take a walk while they come in and smash with your daughter and she 5 or 6 because he the master.
Right.
You don't know stress. You understand? So I'm not beat to listen to people saying that I just want to go down there and have some fun. Have some fun by yourself. Have some fun with 5 of your friends. It's always a barbecue going on in Newark. I keep a chair in my car because I ride past. I'm getting out. I'm coming. And you know I will. Matter of fact, and this is what it is in Newark. Like I couldn't imagine living anywhere else because I just get love everywhere I go, and I talk to everybody who's cool, and I love it here. But there's some things that need to be fixed, and we have to fix those things together. Manera says we're put here to know and love one another and uplift humanity. Absolutely. I think this is Marilise again. She says we're not a democracy. A democracy can become mob rule, subject to a dictatorship. We are a
constitutional. That is correct. That is 100% correct.
Somebody's educated on here. Manera also agrees. She said Ron Rice was a good council member.
He was.
Yes, he was. And matter of fact, let me plug in that Ron Rice is going to be doing a new show. You can go look at his page. I cannot wait for it. He has something that should have been shared, but for whatever reason, it has come to him to share it. So he's going to be doing a podcast. He's going to have either a YouTube show or something like that. I just caught it today. I'm really happy about that. I'm looking forward to it. If I could think of the name, I would tell you guys, but I will be reposting on my page. So stay tuned for that. Wow. Somebody else, Karen, also said, Drakefoot said, yes, he was a good Westward councilman.
I miss him.
Speaking of Westward councilman, thank you, Manera. She said, I deserve it. Lord knows, girl. Because, girl.
Oh, I wanted to make a comment real quick.
Go ahead, sweetheart.
The
thank you, Manera.
Statement that Manera had made, and then you started talking. Basically, she was saying that, hi, Manera. I have to say this real quick. Manera and I were in the streets of Newark, I want to say, oh my gosh, 15 to 17 years ago. We used to have a feeding program where it was basically students at different colleges, because I went back to college as an older student. It was students, me and a group of students at different colleges in downtown Newark. We would, every Sunday, we would come together, purchase food from different grocery stores, cook the food, package the food, and bring it to downtown Newark, like to Penn Station and different parks, within the downtown area, and feed the homeless. And we did this for 2 to 3 years. And Manera used to help out. People in the community would help out. My kids would help out. Different kids would come and help out. And it was just a way for us to give back. And we were trying to do something to help the community, but we got so much pushback. We would get harassed by the cops at Penn Station.
Wow.
Exactly. Time flies. Because my son was like a little baby at the time. But anyway, we used to get pushback from the cops at Penn Station, because they were like, oh, you can't get food, no loitering, all this kind of stuff. And it was just ridiculous. We were also trying to start programs to help, transition people from being homeless to having a home to, getting employment. We were getting so much pushback, not just from, the cops, but actually from, different city officials. Because then it became a problem, like when we tried to distribute food in, the different parks and all this other kind of stuff. So yeah, we used to literally buy the food, cook the food, and distribute the food. Wow. And we got so much pushback. It was ridiculous. Exactly. It was ridiculous. But getting back, it was a comment that Manera made. So me and Manera go way back. Yeah. Manera goes way back with a lot of people, because she's actually in the community doing the work.
Right. Absolutely.
So she was basically saying that that basically it's about self-preservation. It was along these lines. I am, I'm not saying it verbatim, but she was basically saying that the powers that should not be practice in looking out for self. And that's what we need to do. And then you had started talking about that's what you did. Like, you just got a job yourself. You see what I'm saying? You're looking out for yourself. And that's what we need to do. We need to act like they don't even exist now. That's how irrelevant they are. We need to act like it's just us, and we have to look out for ourselves. We have to come up with the programs. We have to come up with the funding. We have to come up with the ways of educating our youth. We have to do it ourselves, because we cannot depend on a government or a system that doesn't include us or care about us anymore.
Absolutely.
It's a waste of time.
It is. And you see how things have just crumbled. And look, another person, Tanika Moses, Ron Rice took care of the Central Ward. So you see these people saying stuff about Ron Rice Jr., right? Now,
no, that's not Junior, because he was West Ward. I think she's talking about the father.
But no.
Okay.
But we didn't talk about the father, so I don't know. Yeah. So Tanika, you can make clear who you're talking about.
Okay.
But she might be confused, or maybe he did stuff for the Central Ward too. I don't know. But remember, my block is split, and it was one. We were Central Ward.
Right.
So I don't know. Redistricting is tricky to me, so I don't know. But
well, you know what? It could be because he was cool with Darren Sharif back in the day. He was real cool with Darren, and Darren was the councilman of the Central Ward at the time.
Wow, look at this. Manera says Ron Rice Jr. Council every ward. Wow, I can believe it.
He was really good.
Congratulations on your new job. Dominique, thank you so much, because if it was up to the leadership in this city, I wouldn't have one. And the reason why I left the comment up earlier about, when the comment was made, because I thought it was valid, because somebody else might be thinking, oh, you go so hard at the mayor, but it's not so hard. It's just that people are not going hard at him enough. It's about accountability. The same kind of accountability that he exhibited the 20 years that he was running against Sharp. The same type of accountability that he held Cory Booker to when he was running, right? And during the duration of all of that, he never lost his job. Nobody ever took his means of having a home. And this is not just my house, this is my home. Like I said, you talking to a person that, and I always tell this story because there's so many young people who were homeless that was homeless. And I had no motivation other than what I dug from inside myself to catch 3 buses to go to school because I wanted to be able to take care of myself. You understand? And we have adults now who still looking for the government to hand them things and give me things. Raz, give me a job. Raz, give me this. Raz, give me that. Let me tell you something. My job don't flow. My certification is my certification. Didn't get it on my back. I got it upright on my feet. He ain't give it to me. He can't take it away. So what I'm saying to you is that I think that I'm not a person who believes in big government. And he who gives you too much, they control you. And that's why a lot of people don't feel comfortable to speak out on things that they should speak out about because they feel like, oh my God, he's going to do this. Well, somebody made a good comment earlier. He's not the only candy in the candy store.
That's right.
Somebody said that, right? So, wow, Manera said again, he assisted all Newarkers. See what good things people say about you when you're not bullying them to do so.
Exactly.
You understand? Yasia says some evil people were poisoning the homeless, killing them. Wow, that is horrible.
That is true. That is true. Horrible. People are very abusive. Well, psychopaths, they're very abusive of the homeless population because they feel like, they're invisible and nobody's going to care or come to their rescue. So a lot of times homeless people are raped, beaten, poisoned. Like she said, a lot of things happen too. That's why we have to make sure that we reduce the number of homeless people because our elected officials could care less, obviously.
Yeah, so we have another question, Ayo, I'm going to put, Ronald Johnson says, and if I did this already, let me know. Are they concerned about immigrants because they bring new federal money for housing, education, and healthcare?
That's part of it. The biggest reason they're concerned with immigrants is because they can become a voter base.
Come on.
Because we are not. I'm not a voter base for them. Even if you were a voter base for them, you're like guaranteed they could care less. Or a lot of people are disgusted with politics nowadays, so they're not participating. So to get a new voter base or to get a new reason to be relevant, they have to have immigrants, a constant influx of immigrants.
Right.
Because immigrants are going to do what they tell them to do, or also they have the threat of being sent back to their country, whereas you don't have that. I don't have that.
Right.
So they need people that they can control to keep them in office. It's like a vicious cycle, basically.
Okay. Great response. Tanika says Ron Rice and Darren Sharif were frequently in the Central Ward feeding and giving back to the community.
That's true.
Remember when Darren Sharif had coding classes, which he still carried on doing.
He still does, yes.
Yeah, yes. But he was just so about the things that you need council people to be about, leading the really leading the wards forward and not just.
And they like I said, they work together a lot of times too. I remember they would do they would do events together a lot. I should put it that way. Yeah. Yes, we need to protect the homeless. We really do.
We're going over because we're having so much fun tonight. Now
I know this is surprising.
Yes, I know. Right? We got
this comment, Sheila.
Yeah, we got a lot of. I'm loving this. So whenever he says Baraka is a horrible leader, let me say that there are some things that has happened under this administration that I'm going to be honest as a Black person, it's embarrassing. And this is my opinion, right? And I'm being honest, this is my feelings. This is one thing that I felt that was really embarrassing that should not have happened. At the 24 hours of nonsense, I mean, the 24 hours of peace, they had Faith Evans and so many other performers just cursing.
Really?
All in front of the kids, vulgar.
Are you serious? Oh, wow.
It was atrocious. And as an educator, a principal, the top of the food chain as a leader in the city. See, everybody wants to be a leader, right? But you don't want that responsibility. You don't really want that. You don't really want to be held accountable. And allow that to happen in front of kids. And again, the event was centered around the theme of 24 hours of peace. So you mean to tell me you didn't have family music playing? You didn't have the family music playing? You had trap music? What kind of peace? And I mean, it was so much crime going on, during that time, right? And so that's something that he can't control, right? But if you're going to say that you're going to have a peace event, you couldn't get not one church choir in the whole city to perform? No spirituality at all? Like, so when you say horrible leader, and this is something else, we're going to continue to critique and criticize his leadership. I don't care how much he cries. I don't care how much he, carries his son to make us not want to say anything because he has the baby. The mayor, we're going to need you to leave the baby home with a babysitter or bring a babysitter with you, put him off to the side with the little cute little baby, but you're not going to be able to hide from getting this critique with that child. Knock it off, okay? We don't talk about no personal stuff, but anything that's of social relevance, you're going to catch the smoke. You're going to catch it, and you better be able to receive it because you gave a lot of it out. We watched you for years, and how dare you to get in a place of leadership and make people feel guilty for, oh, they're hating on me. No one's hating on you. We just don't like, I'm going to say this in all fairness. I just think that you could be doing a lot better job than what you're doing, that you could be a lot more responsible, and you're not being. And you don't take constructive criticism. Do you take it as they're hating on me? Stop it. Oh my God. Manera says MIDI advocating for trap and drill music. I keep hearing the drill music. Now this is why I'm showing my age, because what is this drill music? I keep hearing this. I don't know what that is. People are talking about that a lot lately. Tanika says, why would he do that? Yeah, take responsibility, right? Why would he?
That's not a part of this administration. Accountability, responsibility, that's not happening.
That's a shame. That's a shame. So Tanika goes on to say they did things that didn't promote television. I think she's saying that it either even wasn't promoted on television or they didn't promote it on television. I'm not sure. Oh, drill music is gangster music. Thank you, Manera. We need the vocabulary here. All right. So all the rest of the people who watching this show, because I see some of y'all like, yeah, what's drill music? Yeah, now we know it's gangster music. Oh, look at Tanika said tip drill music. Okay, we getting our vocabulary up with this. Okay. Following the deep state agenda. Ooh,
that's true. That's what's happening. That's very clear in the city of Newark. But to the way I look at it, Newark is like ground zero for all the fracking that happens in the country.
Absolutely. Manera says failed leadership, no other way to describe the Barack administration. The worst I've ever seen. Now, Manera cracks me up. I know she has this thing that she says, oh my God, I know I'm not going to get it right. She's like, what is it? If you a crook, a thief, a liar, you need a job, you want to kill, steal, and rob? Come see the team. Wow. I be falling. I know good when she say that because
I know what you're talking about. It's hilarious.
Steal and rob. Need a job. You know how to steal, kill, and rob. Come see. And so, right, we gotta laugh to keep from crying. But again, this is not what Black leadership should look like in 2022, especially with the history that we have as a collective. You understand? Like this city was brought together even by those who came before us, right? Everybody brought together as a collective. And there's a lot of division going on, and it's not just any one group against the other. There are people in those persons in any group that are activate into their own selfishness division. And I think that we would be good not only to disregard the division, but to start being more inclusive overall as to exploring what's going on in world politics. I'm going to say it again, what's going on in the world, not just the local politics, because some people ain't even get to that point, but you need to be there. But you definitely need to look at what's going on in world politics. Do not just look at what the Democrats are sharing with us in terms of information. You want a balanced information coming your way. So you want to look at, even though some people, I don't like Trump. No. Stop it. Pay attention. Listen. Don't listen to like them or to love them. Listen to the points. Whatever Biden is talking about, listen to the points. Biden keeps making this point about you're not black if you're not supporting him. He keeps like coming back to that little theme, and I found it to be offensive. And you need to think about that. I'm still not off. When he was running, he was like, come to the polls. Something he was saying about the polls, but he had girls go dancing on a pole.
Well, then look at his son. I mean, look at him and his track record and his son. And it's like you just said, you have to look at what's going on in world politics, and then you do like the trickle down, so then you'll have a better understanding what's happening locally. Because Newark is in a unique position where we're like a big port city. I think we're the largest port city on the the third largest on the eastern seaboard, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
If not the country, it's like at least the eastern seaboard. So we're a port city. We're in the we're a mid-Atlantic state in the Northeast. So we're perfectly situated for you can't get from DC to New York without coming through Newark. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're perfectly situated for what's going on, not only in the country, but around the world. We are the place that welcomes so many immigrant groups, from different parts of the world. So basically, you have to know what's going on in world politics. You have to know what's going on in the country that you're in. We're in the United States, so we have to know about United States politics, Jersey politics, Essex County politics, and Newark politics.
For sure. You got to start listening to some podcasts about this stuff too.
Oh, yes.
It's deep, it's heavy, but you guys can handle it. Oh my God, I had to put this back up, but never put it up there. She said, if you need a job, you know how to steal, kill, and rob, bring your resume around.
We're laughing, but in all reality, those are the only people who can get jobs in the city of Newark, working for the city of Newark. And
that's a shame.
And that's not including, the ones who have no problem prostituting themselves or selling drugs to their own community. You know what I'm saying? Those are the only people, it seems like, who can work for the city.
And that's problematic.
Unfortunately.
That it says a lot, but Yasia says, I've never been to the 24 hours of peace. However, I hope black vendors made money. And that's another thing. I hope those black vendors weren't charged to vend there, because the level of money that came in for that event, they should have let those black vendors just get out there and make money. And that would have been a great give back to the community. So just, something to think about. Manira says it's a melting pot.
Yes.
She also says, let me see. Yes, they were. Okay, that's from Tanika. She also says pedophile ring. Oh,
yes, that's true. This is not funny, but yes.
No, I'm laughing. Did you say yes?
That's true. This is stuff you don't want to acknowledge or admit to, but yes, that's part of what's going on in the city of Newark as well. Well, unfortunately.
So my commentary on that is just that there was a huge message put forth when a recent local DJ Little Man was accused by, lots of women, probably hundreds of young girls. Well, 30-something is young to me, but early 30s.
But they weren't 30 when it happened, probably.
Right. And they were talking about this DJ. So they accused him of that. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't know if it's true or false. I don't know. But so many people, even his child's mother got involved in the commentary as well, and pretty much confirmed what the young girls was saying. But this is the thing, right? Most politicians would have stayed away from that situation. Oh, not our mayor. No. He did a commercial for his 24 hours of nonsense. 24 hours of peace, where he had that guy in the beginning, the middle, and the end. He was proud to stand up. Now, he can't stand next to me or you. We the devil, we the Antichrist. How dare you guys not be criminals? But he stood up next to that DJ and, just the air, just said like, yeah, I'm rolling with him, and he didn't say that. I want to be clear, literally, but It was just, you sent a message. It wasn't a verbal message, but you sent a message that after so many of those young ladies not only made those accusations to him, because we watched that, what is it? The Jersey Club. I think that's where a lot of the stuff was coming at on Instagram. We watched those young girls say so many things, and we saw them at you, and there was a lot of other people that they added. So that means that once they at you, you got that notification,
right?
And you said nothing. But so what you did publicly was you took a stand with a man who was repeatedly accused, right? And then and like I said, I don't like to get into things that I don't know about. You know what I'm saying? Because I know it's widely said, but just because something is widely said doesn't necessarily mean it's true. So just for me, I'm not going to call that man a pedophile if I don't know him to be a pedophile. I'm just
well, you don't have to. We have a serious problem with that in the state of New Jersey and in Newark. Remember a few years ago, the priest McCarrick. Remember they were talking about him, how he was accused of grooming and molesting a bunch of kids, like from Seton Hall and different places, and they never took him down. They just moved him. That problem, and this goes back to the state of New Jersey being the way that it is. New Jersey, unbeknownst to many people, is a huge Catholic state. So we attract Catholics from all over the world. So there's that aspect of it too, where the pedophilia that's going on within the Catholic Church is spilling out into our communities a lot of times.
The audience is wild tonight.
Yes, the Catholic priest, his name was McCarrick, and he was defrocked. But the thing was, he was problematic for, I want to say, 30 or 40 years, and they did nothing about it. And so there were like a lot of people having lawsuits. And the reason I bring that up is because his parish was, Newark was included within that parish. And he was teaching at Seton Hall, which is like a few blocks away from me. And I live in the West Ward,
Yeah. So
that's a problem. And getting back to the mayor, this is him standing by DJ Little Man is nothing, because he literally stood by R. Kelly when his friend got engaged at an R. Kelly concert. He was standing up on stage. And my thing is like, who the heck is still effing with R. Kelly? After all the information, this is worldwide. People know about R. Kelly. So for you to stand on stage, for your friend to get engaged at an R. Kelly concert, and you to stand on stage next to him, that says everything as far as I'm concerned.
Wow. So like I said,
exactly. She said the pastor in Newark too. Yes. We have a tremendous problem with that, but that's a worldwide issue. Yeah. And it's coming out that it's a part of, it's like pay to play kind of thing. Your willingness to participate in pedophilia will determine how far you get in business and politics and entertainment, that sort of thing. Right. So that information's coming out too.
Yeah, keep hitting them comments, Aya.
Yes. They moved him from church to church. And he was finally, like I said, defrocked, I want to say in the past 5 years or whatever. but it was like a big scandal, and it was like it included the Newark area. It included the Newark area, and he was at, if I'm not mistaken, Seton Hall for a long time. And Seton Hall is like a skip, hop, and a jump away, and their law school is in downtown Newark. So
okay, so we're going to bring this to a close. We had so much fun tonight.
Wow, this was fun.
This was great, you know, and it's great because of the audience. You guys were really
audience participation.
You know, just thank you for that, you know, and I love our audience because they're so on point. I mean, they really are. They still got these comments coming. American cult, they are all one and the same. And you know, we're gonna our young lady obviously wasn't able to get on here tonight, but I think this is a great precursor. So we're going to try to make sure that she gets on next week. And I'm going to tell you just a little bit about her. It's one of my students that I've had, and I have several young people in the community that I'm going to bring on because I think that we need to bridge the gap so that we can see exactly what's going on in this community. Because it's one thing for us to talk about the youth, how we had this great, robust discussion this evening, but it's another thing when the youth are coming on telling their story. And this is a young lady. She's in her 30s. I think she's about 33 now. I've known her since the 4th grade. She's an absolutely amazing student. Very, very talented in a bunch of ways. But her path led her to, you know, be a part of a gang. Her path also led her to be arrested multiple times. She's still a great person. She's had some bad breaks. And what she's going to do is she's going to come on and tell us about her life story. And to just, I mean, because people, when they bash people, they need to put together what people are going through and put themselves in their shoes, because none of us needed to be where we are. If we're in a different place and we're in a great place or a better place, we're there because of something bigger than ourselves. And we got to consider that, you know.
And because of help and support too.
Yeah.
So we, and the good thing about the show with her on it is she can tell us the type of help and support that she needs.
That's
to get to where she wants to be.
Because it's not just
where
her.
It's lacking.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. And it's not just her. We have a lot of young girls who was starting to years ago go to jail for shoplifting and things at an alarming rate. And we never really had an apparatus that supported a continuous there for them type.
Right.
So that's what we're trying to build from the grassroots up with W.A.G.E. And listen, there's a lot of problems in the city. You can easily get overwhelmed trying to address every single thing, even though Manira does a fantastic, outstanding job. And when we have our award ceremony, you're definitely on the list to get one, okay? But what we're trying to do, like I said, is build in our area where we are with our knowledge and our base and our connections to get women in a better, stronger place, like I said, of empowerment. And that starts with our young girls, because they become young women. They become the moms in the community. So instead of just trying to, you know, put the, you know, how would they say, the proverbial Band-Aid on a bullet wound, we're trying to interject early on and see what we can do to change some things. And that's how we're going to continue to change the lens. So we're going to wage love and make sure that we just want to say thank you to everybody for coming out. I want to say thank you to Miss Io Peterson. You were absolutely amazing.
I had a lot of fun.
Yes,
I spent a lot of time laughing, but it's been great. And I think it's important that we have these discussions as a community, so that we ourselves can come up with solutions. We can start the programs. We can be the support system that we need, because I'm sorry, I can't with the elected officials anymore. I'm done. I tap out. I'm finished. I'm not trying anymore. I'm not doing that. It's just a waste of time. But I do believe in the community. I believe in the people in the city of Newark. And I truly believe that we're gifted and talented enough to come up with the solutions to every problem that we have. I think we can do it ourselves.
I agree. Thank you for everybody joining us tonight. And until next Wednesday, when we meet our other guests, we'll see you then. Good night and wage love.